Hey, it's Tyler Cavalli with KRVN Radio here on the Midday Show. We are now joined by the voice of Husker volleyball. You can actually hear him coming up a little bit later on tonight. And John Baylor, who is now joining us. And, well, John, you ready to roll? Another great season, or what should be a fantastic season, is officially on tap.
Tyler fired up, and Husker volleyball fans no longer have to descend into their basement and scratch off one more day on their limestone cellar walls as they can just stay above ground and realize it is here. The wait is over. Number 1 Nebraska is playing number 3 Pittsburgh today.
You know, John, I want to know how many people actually are doing something similar to that.
Oh, the anticipation. Every year it gets greater, Tyler, but it almost feels like people are just counting the days. When will this start again? It's one reason I chatted yesterday with the head of the AVCA, the American Volleyball Coaches Association, Jamie Gordon, and I said, what about the possibility of starting volleyball 2-3 weeks sooner? I mean, you've got this time period when there's no football. There's this availability. I mean, the consumer's appetite for sports is as great as ever, but, you know, we got just basically golf and maybe a little bit of tennis and everyone's just a little bit of baseball. Everyone's just waiting. And I mean, what about filling the void with volleyball starting 2 or 3 weeks earlier? And he said that's on the plate. It's a little more complicated than that because the student athlete then has to come back to school sooner. How would that affect the coaches and their calendar? But you elongate the season, so you know you'd still have the Final Four in the middle of December, or do you just keep it the same length and now you shorten it and you finish up around Thanksgiving? So there are a lot of moving parts, but I think it's pretty clear that there's an opportunity there to start a little sooner. Not just Husker fans are excited about volleyball.
Yeah, you're right. There's an appetite for volleyball. We're obviously seeing that. It continues to grow across the nation, the world, and obviously what's going to be happening in Lincoln this upcoming weekend. We'll touch on that here in a moment. Obviously, what an off-season it has been, right, John? I mean, you obviously have the coaching change, the handing of the torch from John Cook now to Danny Busboom Kelly, and now the excitement of being ranked number 1. You have a great roster coming back. You have so many talented players coming in, as well as freshmen or transfers. Talk about this, just the off season. I mean, even for you and trying to just, contain the excitement at this point.
It's been fabulously handled. You have a native daughter taking over who wasn't just a national champion as a player, who was so unselfish as a player, who changed positions her senior year with great success, helping them to a 2006 title. She then went away, was an assistant coach, came back, was a 5-year assistant coach, probably the top recruiter in the country as an assistant coach during those 5 years. Kenzie Maloney, so many others were brought in largely because of the contacts, the relationships that Danny Busboom Kelly had during those 5 years, 2012 to 2016. But then she goes in 2017 to Louisville, a program that flirted with top 25 and now and then, and then would go to a tournament every 3 years, would never get to a Sweet 16, and makes them a perennial top 5 program, winning 82% of her matches over 8 years, 89% over the last 4 years, which is number 1 in the country. And then she's available for hire and takes over, and all 17 players are here. Nobody left the program, which is unheard of when you lose a legend. So, right now, if anything, my concern right now is we're doing a bad job of managing expectations, because I just fear if we fall behind in a set, there'll be panic. This is a journey here.
Yeah.
And you want to make sure you're peaking at the right time in December.
Yeah, you've certainly noted that many times in our conversations in the past, that this is, you could lose a match early on. It's not the end of the world. You're not losing the national championship early on. So I think that's important to note there.
In 2017, Tyler, the Huskers lost on a forgettable Saturday morning at University of Nebraska, Omaha, to University of Northern Iowa.
That's right.
And that 2017 Husker team is the last one that won a national championship. Right. So sometimes those early losses can be wake-up calls. Yeah. 1995, we lose to Stanford the opening weekend and go on to win the title. Never lost again. So those can help.
Yeah, and certainly, obviously, a tough couple of tests here this weekend. Again, we'll preview in a moment. So we're talking to John Baylor, voice of Nebraska volleyball, or you can catch all of his games here on KRVN, Cammon Country, and KRVN.com once again this fall into this winter. You mentioned, obviously, with Nebraska native Danny Busboom Kelly taking over. Obviously, she has the credentials. She's done a wonderful job, obviously, as a player, as a coach. did it take even long for the current players, the current roster, all those that you mentioned that stayed, to embrace her?
I don't think so. They all are wearing smiles. Chemistry seems to be great. Now, it's easy to be really happy before you find out you're on the bench.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, you only can play 7 players, and she, shared with the press that she shared with the team that this is such a tough decision, and she wished she could play all 17 of them, but she really cannot. But they all deserve to play. This is not like a Russ Rose Penn State team where there are 20 on the roster, but like 9 of them are shorter than I am, and 6 of them are walk-ons. I mean, they're not planning on playing; they're just there as practice players largely. No, these are all elite recruits. They're all expecting to play. I mean, Skylar Pierce is expecting to play, and she was the number 4 recruit in the country. And right now, I mean, she might be the second or third option at the second outside position. I'm not sure. We'll find out this weekend. She had 3 big kills in the alumni match, but finished with only 5 total. So, where do you put her? And so that's just an example of the competition for playing time. And let's just hope, when the dog days of October arrive, that everyone's still feeling really great about things. But so far, fabulous chemistry, fabulous energy. And when you start playing other teams, I mean, these are finally going to be, Homo sapiens that are unaffiliated with the program across the net. That can kind of help as well. But, the downside is not everyone's going to get to play. I mean, as the head coach said after the alumni game, you won't see a score sheet again with all 17 players getting in.
Yeah, you have a plethora of talent for Nebraska. Some kind of joke to when they had the red-white scrimmage that the second team could be starting for many other volleyball programs across the nation. What does that look like? I mean, in terms of, as you mentioned, you can't play everybody. It's just impossible. You have so much talent there coming in, coming back, ranked number 1 right now. What are the expectations right now as a team? I know, obviously, to probably win a national championship, but there's a lot of hurdles in the way, including this upcoming weekend.
Well, Pittsburgh's in the conversation for a national championship because they're returning the number 1 player in the country, Olivia Babcock, nearly 5 kills a game last year. And that's when she had a fellow first-team All-American setter, a fellow first-team All-American outside. Well, the outside's gone to Texas. The setter has graduated. So she's got Illinois' former starting setter now, Brooke Mosher, but I think she gets featured even more offensively, if you can imagine. She might average 5.5, 6 kills a set. She's almost unstoppable. 6'4", out of Los Angeles, can jump out of the gym. A wicked serve. So she's probably the most potent offensive force in the country right now. So she's on the Pittsburgh squad we're going to be facing later today. So they're in the conversation. I think the other 2 that are favorites are Texas and also Penn State. I think Penn State is not happy to be ranked number 2, even though they're the reigning national champions, to be picked second in the conference, even though they beat Nebraska twice last year. So that's just giving them more fuel, unfortunately. And then there's a group of 6 teams that are kind of also in the conversation, and that's the 4 ACC schools, Stanford and Louisville and Pittsburgh and SMU. And then you've got Kentucky, which has 2 elite outsides. You've got Stanford with 2 elite outsides. Nebraska's Sunday opponent, number 6 in the country. And then you got Texas A&M, which has got one of the top players in the country. So I think it's 3 the favorites and then 6 in the conversation. But you never know. There are always surprise teams that, especially with these, like UCLA has a lot of transfers. And, they're not going to take average players. So they could be like this year's SMU.
What does that look like in terms of trying to now win a national championship? I assume that is the expectation this season.
Well, it's got to be. I mean, you just had Lexi Rodriguez go through the program, and she didn't get the ring, and that hurts. That she's one of the great college players of all time. And then you got Harper Murray, who after the Texas loss and the 2023 title, who kind of blurted out, we're going to win 3 more. So it's been building, and you've got the fan base that hasn't, seen him at the top podium since 2017, and then you have the head coach coming in and just like her successor, immediately embracing those expectations, talking about national championship, saying that, she voted us number 1. She thinks we were preseason number 1. That's not helping that's not helping dissipate this hunger for a huge, memorable season. So it's easier to say than to do, but, we really need to pump the brakes a little bit and let this team, kind of ferment and, become their own identity. Because there will be challenges. I think they're going to be just fine against average and below average opponent because they're just so overwhelming. But, they're going to run into Penn State twice this year, Minnesota and Wisconsin on the road. Add Wisconsin to that group in the second tier, by the way, but Wisconsin and Minnesota on the road. You got Creighton on the road. You got Stanford on Sunday. So, Kentucky at a neutral site in Nashville next weekend. So that's all good. You want those challenges because that'll make you stronger in December. But nothing is a foregone conclusion here.
Well, Nebraska will open up the season, as we have been talking about this upcoming, today and then throughout this weekend, the AVCA First Serve, which will be at Pinnacle Bank Arena. Just over 15,000 fans will be able to watch first ever opportunity to play at Pinnacle Bank Arena. I know they're doing some different things there as well. Obviously, we'll see third-ranked Pittsburgh later on tonight, and then sixth-ranked Stanford coming up on Sunday. What is kind of the thoughts of playing at PBA, hosting this kind of high-value tournament? And are you excited to broadcast it kind of in a different venue like this, where there's obviously going to be a ton more fans?
It's amazing. Here you have, the 72nd largest market in the country? I mean, Lincoln is not a top 50 market, and we've got two elite facilities. And the AVCA chose us not just because they know Husker fans would fill it, but it's just a 10-year-old beautiful facility in Lincoln, and they're not holding back on the budget. I mean, they've got a lighting company that's coming in that's going to get every fan a wristband, and there are going to be moments when suddenly the whole all the crowd, the wristbands are all going to be this color, and then they're going to be that color, and they're going to be this color. I mean, it's just going to be quite a show that they're putting on. They're bringing in the Bolt 6 line technology, so we won't have people calling the lines. We're going to have 22 cameras calling the lines, which means they're going to be precise, accurate, and quick if there are any disputes. So just, it's amazing how you have a American Volleyball Coaches Association, which is one of the absolute top promoters of the sport, creating this 10-team event. There'll be 8 teams here, and then 2 others will join in Sioux Falls for Monday's doubleheader. Just a stunning effort here, bringing in all the sponsors and then choosing Lincoln, Nebraska, and 80% of the fans are from Nebraska, but 20% are coming from other states. So they're creating really a national event with Fox TV and then Fox FS1 on Saturday and then ESPN on Sunday. We of course all listen to the radio, but I'm just saying there is this other invention. So it's just it's pretty it's really impressive. And just think, the AVCA 20 years ago was a director and a couple assistants. Whereas now they're putting on this huge event and getting involved in so many ways in promoting the sport and really being a catalyst for all this growth in volleyball. I just couldn't be more impressed with what Jamie Gordon and his group is doing. And the beneficiaries are the Husker fans who will be there later today and all weekend, and volleyball devotees at large.
Certainly exciting times, and for Lincoln and for putting this on the map even more with this kind of venue for Nebraska volleyball and having this top tier of opponents coming in to start the season. We're all excited for it. And John, we're excited to have you on the airwaves once again, and we're excited for all the kabooms.
I think there'll be plenty of those with Danny Busboom Kelly offense running the middle all the time, and Andy Jackson jumping out of the gym, Rebecca Alex on a mission, and Harper Murray leaping from the back row and the front row, and all these great second outsides and right side options. I wish I were getting paid by the Kaboom this year.
Yeah, there you go. Well, we're excited for all of it, and we appreciate you joining us here today. Again, that is voice of Nebraska volleyball, John Baylor, joining us here today. Of course, you can catch all the games that he'll be calling right here on KRVN, Cami Country, and KRVN.com. I'm Tyler Cavalli for KRVN Radio.